The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and Your Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
And hello, everybody. Welcome inside a wonderful Thursday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. We are winding down the month of July. It's already July 25th. And that means, next week we're going to be heading into August. This is the last Thursday of July. Whew. Fall sports right around the corner, guys. It's getting close. I think we have officially scheduled our first fall sports previews, so they are coming. The coaches' corners and season previews, they are coming. You can test that out. I think in 2 weeks. 2 weeks we'll have season previews for you guys on August 5th. We can officially say that will be a day where we will have a coach on the show August 5th for a fall sports preview. Whew, it's coming quick. It's coming quick. We have a great show for you today, though. We have a couple of weeks before that, and we are filling it with our Living the Dream series. We have one more week of this, maybe a couple of overflow days, but really, like next week is going to be the last week where it's every day living the dream, because we'll also have time filled up for, like I said, the fall sports previews. But today on Living the Dream, where if you're just joining us, if you're a first-time viewer, this is a segment we've been doing all summer for our softball players out there that are dreaming about being on the big stage, about going to college and playing softball, about furthering their career. You get to hear from people that have done it. You get to hear from people that have been there, have been to where you want to go, and that is the best way to learn how to get there. The best way to know where to go on your path is to hear from people that have walked there before you, right? So we have had amazing players come on in the last couple of weeks and tell their story, tell their journey, give advice out to the players that are going to be going to where they went. And it's been a lot of fun. And today is a great one. One that I was super excited about when I was able to confirm that she would be one of our guests. It's Devin Flaherty from Florida State, one of the best programs in the entire country. When you talk about softball, Devin Flaherty has played on the biggest stages you can possibly play on in college. World Series, multiple World Series appearances at Florida State, and she's now a professional softball player for the Texas Monarchs. So we have talked to now 3 Monarchs on the year, with Devin Flaherty being the third. We've also talked to Sarah Fessler from YSU, and of course we opened up this series. The inaugural interview was with Kelly Torres from Duke, who also plays for those Texas Monarchs. So we want to thank all of them for their time, and we round out the week with a really awesome interview with Devin Flaherty talking about her career and what it was like to get to Florida State and play in some of the biggest moments that you can possibly play in, biggest stages. It's going to be a lot of fun. But before we get to that, we have 2 softball games to recap from Austintown Little League. They are still alive in the Central Regional Tournament. Let's go. It was kind of a hit and miss day yesterday when they were supposed to play Nebraska at 1 o'clock. If you watched Running Point yesterday, the plan was to watch it live and to kind of react to their game with Scotty, but that game got pushed, and then they got that game in eventually, but then their next game got pushed. So rain really became a factor yesterday in Indiana, but they did get their Nebraska game in yesterday. So Nebraska came out, and this was an elimination game, the first elimination game for Austintown, and you could tell it was a very focused, determined, ticked off Austintown team. They won 12-0 over Nebraska, eliminating Nebraska from the tournament. 12 runs on 12 hits, no errors. I mean, you look at the lineup, everybody got hits for Austintown. You had a hit from Annabelle Mikesell. You had 2 hits from Mila Hamley with 2 runs scored. The big RBIs of the day, you had 3 of them from Gianna Hoops, a big day for her. 2 RBIs from Gracie Fonda on a 1-for-3 day. RBIs as well from Ava Fisher on a 1-for-2 day, I should say. So a really good offensive output for Austintown. And then Mila Hamley came in, pitched 3 innings of perfect softball, no runs, no hits, no errors, 7 strikeouts. And then when Austintown got it in hand, they were able to bring Annabelle Mikesell in for the last 2 innings, who also gave up no hits, no runs, no walks, and struck out 4. So a combined perfect game for Austintown in this one, with the pitching from Mila Hamley and Annabelle Mikesell. They move on with a 12-0 victory over Nebraska, and they were supposed to play later that night. They were supposed to play at 7 o'clock. Like I said, that game got rained out, right? So that game had to be pushed until this morning. So they had to get up early this morning, 10:45 start time. They played Illinois, and it was a very good softball game. Austintown squeaks out with a 2-1 victory. 2 runs on 6 hits, 1 error for Austintown, 1 run, 5 hits, and 3 errors for Illinois. Annabelle Mikesell was big at the top of the lineup, 2-for-2 day with 2 runs scored. Mila Hamley was 1-for-2 with an RBI. And that was the only RBI of the day for Austintown's offense. 1 out of their 2 runs scored with a run batting in. Pitching for them was Annabelle Mikesell. She went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, 1 run that was earned, didn't walk anybody, struck out 9. So a perfect day for her, keeping her team in it, and then the offense did just enough to back it up with a 2-1 win. So Austintown, through a weird path, right? A lot of rain delays, a lot of games that you're not really supposed to play at the time. Like, they were supposed to play 2 yesterday, have the time off, and come back for the semifinals today. But instead, because of the rain, they had to play this morning, and they'd have almost no time to turn around, because at 1:45, which is very soon, about a half an hour, they're going to be playing Indiana again in the semifinals for a trip to face Missouri in the championship. So the today has gotten wacky because yesterday's rain delay. So today you got to win almost 2 in a row. It's almost a doubleheader, pretty much. Not a straight up doubleheader. You have a little bit of time in between, but still, there are no games in between, right? So it's 10:45, and here you go. You have a rematch with Indiana, who is the team that beat Austintown earlier on this week, 7-1. So you gotta regroup. You gotta try to find ways to win. I don't think Austintown's going to give up 7 runs again. I think Mila Hamley will be fresh because she did not pitch in the Illinois game. So getting a win without Mila Hamley in the circle was also huge. Not having to use her, I am sure Annabelle Mikesell had a short leash, so if she ever got into trouble, they would have put in Mila Hamley, but she pitched so well they didn't have to do that. So that's big for Austintown too. They'll be able to put Mila Hamley back in the circle at 1:45 to get things done against Indiana. They're going to need her because Indiana is a really good team, right? And then when you come back, it's Missouri waiting in the championship. You're going to have to beat them twice. So Austintown is 3 wins away from going back to the World Series, but it is going to be a tough stretch. It's going to be a very tough stretch, and it starts with a rematch with Indiana. We go back to that game against Indiana and the 7-1 loss to them on Tuesday. Austintown's offense, only 4 hits on the day. 1 run on 4 hits, and they came from 3 different hitters. So 3 hitters had hits. The one with multiple hits on the day, the one that had a lot of success, was Lexi Petrilla. She went 2 for 2 with a run scored. And then your other hits came from Mila Hamley and Marissa Polar, both got hits as well. So you just need more offense. When you're batting 12, you have to have more than 3 people get hits. That's, obvious, right? That's just what you got to do to win the game. Now you look at the 7 runs and you go, wow, they didn't really, that was a tough pitching day for Mila Hamley, but only one of those runs was earned, guys. And she gave up 6 hits. 6 hits, 1 earned run in this game. So she didn't pitch bad. It's just her standard makes it so expected that she's going to go out there and throw a no-hitter. And that's just not going to be the case all the time. 6 hits. She gave up 6 runs. 1 of them was earned. She struck out 4, walked none. And I talked about this yesterday with Scotty when we were recapping this game. 4 strikeouts. That was the key for Indiana. They did not strike out against Mila Hamley. They put the ball in play. They put pressure on this defense that hasn't had to do a lot yet this summer. They've been a lot of games where Mila Hamley has struck out 80+% of the hitters that she's faced. So the defense, to be real, hasn't had to do much. And all of a sudden they're playing Indiana, who putting the ball in play a little bit more. Right? So your defense has to consistently make plays that they haven't had to do all summer. So they're going to have to be sharp because I bet Indiana will have the same game plan, put the ball in play, avoid the strikeouts. We'll see what Mila Hamley can do if she can be a little bit more fine-tuned and get more strikeouts, or maybe the defense will step up a little bit more for her, behind her against Indiana. Once again, that game starts at 1:45, and it'll be on ESPN, the normal ESPN. So it'll be nationally broadcasted, not ESPN Plus. You don't have to have an ESPN Plus subscription to watch this one. ESPN, the national broadcast, will have you covered with Austintown versus Indiana for a trip to the regional finals against Missouri. Once again, Austintown will have to beat Missouri in back-to-back games to get the overall victory in the regional championship, which is what they had to do, remind you, last year. They had to go into the championship, win twice, and they did. They have the arms to do it. They have the offense to do it. They just have to execute. All right, so we also are gearing up for the Juniors Little League World Series, as will start, in 3 days, by the way. Remind you that we talked about their game, their Central Regional Championship yesterday as well. And I want to remind you again that that is a team made up of all local players from Poland, Canfield, Struthers. I feel like there was one more, Boardman maybe. But remember that they're going in this weekend for a World Series, and our seniors are also playing as well. So we have talent up the wazoo in softball, all still playing. If you're one of those people like me and doesn't want to quite let go of softball season yet, like I said before on this show, plenty of softball still being played. And I also want to remind people, for the baseball side of that, we got you covered with NABF action, which is starting today. This is going to be the senior NABF World Series, which is your 18Us. And that will be covered by YSN, just like the other NABF schedules were. We have games tonight. Matt Marr will be down there at the field at the Seton Park. 3 o'clock is your first game. He'll be there on Scene 1 for the Tigers versus Dura Edge. And then he'll be there at 5:30 for Sayo at Troy on Scene 1 as well. But we also have Avalanche, who's a Class B team in this tournament. We have the Astros all as well. So Avalanche Athletics, Dura Edge, and Avalanche all in this NABF tournament, along with other teams around the country that are coming into play the NABF World Series at Bob's Theme Park. We have you covered with not only the games from Matt Maher broadcasting, but we'll also have recaps of all the games on ysnlive.com. Don't miss any of the action for NABF. It goes from tonight, and it goes all the way to Sunday, where the championships will be happening and the semifinals. So make sure to tune into baseball all weekend long from Bob's Theme Park, where it feels like Matt Maher should have his own bed, cot, and tent set up, because he's at Bob's Theme Park pretty much every night this summer. We thank him again for his awesome dedication to getting coverage of baseball, summer baseball on YSN, whether it be Class B baseball or the NABF World Series, which he's done coverage of 14U, 16U, and now 18U. He's been an absolute workhorse down there at Bob's Theme Park. We thank him for his time, of course. So that's all that's happening throughout the weekend. We want to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll have our Living the Dream segment from Devin Flaherty from Florida State that coming up next on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper, because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can, and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun, it all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Now you can see every school, to the smallest school, to the intermediate schools, to the schools in the outlying areas. It gives you coverage that you could just never get to before. It's something that's great to experience, and it's opened up a whole new wave of sports viewership. The possibilities are endless here at YSN. Push the envelope every day. Try something new. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, let's try another angle, and we just keep moving forward. My name is Mike Ackelson, and my sports network is your sports network.
What can you do on over 5,000 acres? At Mill Creek Metro Parks, you can discover unique habitats and wildlife, create memorable family moments, experience history, heritage, and park programs, explore scenic landscapes, take time to relax and be well, connect with nature and each other. Come see what's new at Mill Creek Metro Parks. Plan your trip now at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means taking care of our local customers.
And it's just a great feeling to put them in a vehicle and get them all excited about a new vehicle.
At the end of the day, our goal is to be someone our customers can count on.
And every day I'll go the extra mile for the community so they can trust us.
To do anything that would convenience the customer or make them feel more at home.
Realizing, number one, that we're here for them and that we're not going to go away.
That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
And welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends that you just heard from, Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you. You can find them. Oh, they're not in the top right-hand corner. What happened there? Let's get them in the top right-hand corner, right? So you know where to go. If you're in the market, boop, right there, for a new or used vehicle, the only place that'll take care of you and go the extra mile for you is Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. We thank them for their constant support and sponsorship of not just this show at Running Point, but also everything we do at YSN. We would not be able to do our live broadcast of games. We would not be able to do our coaches' corners, our player profiles. Everything that we do at YSN, we do with the help of our wonderful sponsors, which includes Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. So if you like what we do here, make sure to also thank the businesses that you see in our commercials. And if you like Running Point, make sure to thank Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. And if you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, no better way to thank them than to use them to find the perfect fit for you. They will absolutely take care of you down there. And I will put my seal of approval on that for sure. We were venturing into our next Living the Dream segment, and I previewed it before the commercial break. Very excited for this one. This is a player that I have watched for a long time, that I have admired, that I have been a fan of at Florida State. I know it's shocking. Oh, Anthony, you're a Georgia Tech fan, right? So, no, you can respect and admire and be a fan of players even if they're playing against your team. I promise you that. Devin Flaherty from Florida State. What a great interview this is. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I enjoyed conducting it. Anthony Hartwig here with another segment of what we are calling Living the Dream here on YSN, and we are joined by someone that you probably know from the biggest stages of softball, from Florida State and now the Texas Monarchs playing professionally. It is Devin Flaherty. Devin, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
You've been able to do a lot of amazing things. We're going to talk about all of them, but I want to start with the start of the story. Every story has a beginning, and I'm sure you kind of reflect fondly on the way you started playing softball and talk about, when you started to fall in love with the game and how you picked up the sport.
Yeah. I think at a super young age, my parents had us in a lot of sports. My brother played t-ball, kind of followed him in those footsteps, played a little baseball. And then my parents were like, yeah, we probably should move her over to softball. Played soccer and softball. All of elementary school, middle school, wanted to play both in college, but tore my ACL my freshman year of high school and kind of just made the decision that softball was probably the smarter path and had a few more opportunities collegiately at that time. So, but just fell in love with sports from a young age. I mean, all in general, I want to work in baseball now. So I think I just love the game. I love the team atmosphere. I love the leadership. I love just getting to grow. So I think just from a young age, all of those things and the different things that it instills in you, like hard work, team, loyalty, all of those things. I've really grown to love those aspects too.
When do you think it shifted from softball, something fun that you love, to softball is something that I can really make a good, living on, and I can go and I can work hard and become a college softball player?
Yeah, I think probably when I was getting recruited, it was still happening at a super young age. So just then my parents definitely held my hand a little bit, like just emphasized what's important, what's in the long haul. But around the end of elementary school, the beginning of middle school, which sounds so crazy, but that's when the recruiting was happening during my time, and just realizing that this could set me up good for life, getting a good degree and getting to enjoy all of those moments that college athletics can bring you and how it can grow you as a person. So at a pretty young age, but I definitely continued to grow that fire of like changing from just fun to kind of more competitive and stuff throughout middle school and high school.
Was there also a moment or a year where you kind of figured out how good you were at softball and like, hey, this could be something special?
I honestly, and I tell a lot of people this, like, I never thought I was super good at softball. I just thought I was like athletic and had some of those tools that you couldn't always teach. Always wanted to learn more too. So I never thought I was a great softball player, but I thought that, I was a good athlete and a good leader and stuff like that. So I think not necessarily a great softball player, but I think one of the Atlanta Legacy showcases in middle school, I think it was 6th or 7th grade, and I was playing on an older team at the time. And there was about, 30, 40 like big college coaches there at one of our games. And I was like, wow, like this is real. And then playing smaller tournaments in Florida, because I didn't play on one of the teams that went all over the place all the time. And Coacha and Tim Walton were always there. And I think that was kind of eye-opening too.
So you're a part of a group of players that could commit very early, like you said. I mean, recruiting was starting at a very young age. There were plenty of players in your class that could commit before they even stepped on the high school softball field freshman year. You tear your ACL freshman year of high school. What was that like to go through that? Because that's right in the time when people are committing and your recruiting process for you is heating up. What did you go through mentally when you were trying to get back from that injury?
Yeah, it was tough for sure. I think it was honestly a little tougher, like the heartbreak of losing soccer, because I loved it just as much as I loved softball. So having to make that decision to, realize what was probably the smartest path for me was really hard. And then coming back from it, it's a tough injury. It's a long time, and there's a lot of, I would say, like stagnant time where you feel like you're not going anywhere because it just takes so long to recover. But I really just bought into the fact of this is going to make me a better athlete. Everything happens for a reason. I tore it for a reason and ended up working out in my favor. I think I would never have been as strong, as fast, as durable as I was throughout my college career without the training and the physical therapy that I received from someone that I trusted a lot during that time. So it was tough, but I actually had already narrowed down my schools to like 3 or 4 schools at the time, took all my visits already, which is once again crazy. Had like 1 or 2 lined up, but I was pretty sure of my top 2 or 3. So I kind of just decided to make the decision after that and definitely never looked back.
When you think about your recruiting process, everyone's different. Everyone's looking for different things during that time. What was it like for you going through that? And then what made you settle on Florida State?
It was hard. Like once again, so young, but it was so cool. I mean, getting to go, I was lucky enough, like, even though they were unofficials, my parents really wanted me to see everything. They wanted me to, look at all different types of schools. So I got the chance to go on quite a few visits, and meet the coaches, meet the girls, see the atmosphere. I grew up a Florida State fan. I grew up in Tallahassee. So it was kind of hard because everyone always says, like, when you know, but I was like, how am I going to know if I've grown up here, if I've always gone here? And so took all those visits and narrowed it down to a few. And I was like, my dad was like, it wasn't Florida State. And my dad was like, just take one more visit. Like, it's been hard for you to go there and kind of decipher between like your past and your future. And I took a visit, and actually was the weekend of some of their officials, and they had like a team event, and they were just talking about, the coaches and the environment and how much the place grows you as a person and not just a player. And that was always big for me. Like, kind of ironic now playing professional softball, but I knew softball wasn't forever, and I wanted somewhere that would care about me just as much as a person, as a player, and get a good education and set myself up for, a good future. And I think when they started talking about that, I was like, okay. And it kind of just like opened my eyes to seeing the school differently. And I think I committed like a week or 2 later.
When you committed and you kind of knew, okay, this is reality now, I'm going to be a college softball player, that's under wraps, my recruiting is done. What kept you motivated to keep trying to get better in those years before you stepped onto Florida State's campus?
I think Florida State's success, for one, I mean, such a successful program. And even before you get there, they kind of instill their core values in you. and caring about the program and wanting to leave it better than you found it. So, if you can grow as a person and you can grow as a player and be open to coaching and learning, the chances of you leaving Florida State better than you found it are pretty high. And that feeling is just like, there's nothing like it. And so I think the ability to have an impact on that school and on the people around you, and just a small sliver of an impact, anything at all, and then it be able to give back to you, is definitely what kept me motivated. And obviously the recovery process coming off an injury. And just, I would say the last thing is probably just the competitiveness, like everyone wants to play and everyone wants to contribute in some way and do it from a young age. And I'm a firm believer that that takes a little bit of luck, because you're coming into such a good school and such good programs, but it also takes a lot of hard work and a lot of consistency. So
when you make that decision, you automatically become a community celebrity. We've seen it here with the players that have made their names to big name schools like that. What was it like to kind of get a taste of what the community is going to be like when you make that decision, and the attention that you get, and kind of the hometown hero treatment that you get once you make that decision?
Yeah, it was super cool. I mean, my family, both my parents went to law school there. My brother went to undergrad there. And now my sister plays beach volleyball there. And then we also have like a group of all of our best friends where they all their parents went to Florida State too. So it was super cool, because obviously, they all wanted what was best for me, but to be, playing there at such a high level and have the people you love and that have supported you for so long around you. And then also to be from Florida and, one of the top 2 schools in the state, and have the ability to play on TV and play in front of everyone. It was just super cool. And everyone was so supportive, and everyone back home, like, just super, always in my corner, always letting me know that. So it was really cool.
I want to take you back to signing day, because being committed is one thing, but once you sign the name on that dotted line, the reality kind of hits. So what was signing day like for you to make it official that these dreams of college softball were going to be a reality, and nothing was going to step in your way anymore?
Yeah. It was pretty surreal. I mean, because at that time I was committed for about 3 or 4 years, and taking visits for probably like 5 or 6, and, in communication with the coaches and the girls and all of that. So the realization that you're now going to be on campus in, just a few months, and be able to contribute and just be a part of something so much bigger than yourself was super special. And know that kind of too, like, my parents put a lot into my softball career and my softball travels prior to college, definitely in college too, but prior to college. So kind of be able to give back in that way, and, get school paid for, not have to make them worry and all of those things. Of course they would have done it, but just kind of give back a little bit in that way of everything they gave me the opportunity to do.
When you think about first stepping on campus and first, having those first tastes of college softball, what was your kind of welcome to D1 softball moment where you realized really quickly, new world?
Well, I have a few, but I would say the biggest one was the second game of the season against Alabama. I started at shortstop my freshman year before COVID hit, and I actually didn't play much shortstop after that, but I made like 2 or 3 errors, and I was like, oh my God. And the stadium was just, they were not mean, but they weren't forgiving. And coach was like, yeah, we're going to stick you in right field. And that was pretty eye-opening, and certain things like that. And, I can look back at it and laugh now, but I was like, okay, here we are.
One of the things that players have talked about in this segment is how the reality of coaches starting to really pick apart your game and finding things that you really need to improve on. When you come into college, you think, hey, I'm one of the best, I dominate high school. What was it like for you to all of a sudden almost have to start back at square one, where you find little holes in your swing with all the technology that they have, and you find little things that you can improve on for defense, and you get coached at that level? What was that like mentally for you to transition to that?
It was a lot. It was hard. Obviously COVID cut my freshman season short, was hitting pretty well, was playing okay defense, wasn't really much to go off of. And then the next year played pretty good defense, didn't hit great, kind of broke down my swing and worked back from it, and had a much better offensive year that sophomore year. And then people just found your holes. And I had a big hole in my swing. And for the first half of both my last seasons, I struggled. And I struggled because they would pick apart my swing and they would throw to my weakness a lot. And I wasn't used to it, like being in the heart of the lineup, being, someone that scouted a lot and all of those things. It was really hard. And I knew I had a hole in my swing. And I think sometimes you get focusing too much on that and rather than what you're good at. And it's just like a little bit of a mental game and trying to get out of that. So it was definitely hard and it definitely took some time. And I was lucky enough to figure it out that second half of both those years. But it's a mental grind, like being on the field too. Like when you're not hitting well, like sometimes you try not to let it go to your defense. And when you're not defending well, you try not to let it go to your hitting. Like it's just all the things. So I think the game of softball and baseball is so much more mental than physical. I mean, especially at that level, you work so hard and you're there for a reason and you have the best coaches and the best resources, but you have to be strong mentally. You have to be willing to go through it. So I think it taught me a lot and it definitely made me a better person and player.
What were some things that you leaned back on mentally? Because everyone has different techniques to get through mental challenges, whether it be a slump or defensive struggles. What were some things that you did or leaned back on to get through those mental challenges?
I would definitely say just hard work, going back to it. Like, I always said, like, you're prepared or you're not. And when you prepare, it gives you a sense of calm. Like you don't know if you're going to perform in that moment or you're going to come up big for your team, but you know that you did everything you possibly could to be successful in that moment. And so even if you're mentally not there, if you're giving it 100%, whatever you have, and you prepared to be where your feet are in that moment, then there's not much else you can do because that's the game and you can't ride the highs and the lows. So definitely the preparation piece and just going back to the drawing board of hard work. And then at Florida State, we were lucky enough to have a few people that helped us out mentally, like outside resources, like with the game and different ways to cope and different ways to work through things because of how much of a struggle it can be at times. And I definitely dove into that. Dr. Tom Hansen, for me, he was a big one. He's out of Tampa and he works with a team and he works with us individually. And, just the ways he kind of teaches me to handle the game and work through it was career changing at times.
Being at Florida State, you were a part of a coaching staff that is probably one of the most well-respected coaching staffs in the whole country. And that's saying something when you look at the coaches that exist in the college softball world. How much of an impact did that coaching staff have on you throughout your career? And what do you think was so special about the bond you created with the coaching staff you had as a Seminole?
Yeah, I mean, I literally couldn't say enough about them. Coach T. Will, T. Cam, Rafter, Ellie, they're better people than they even are better coaches. So like you guys all get to see kind of the outcome of what we can do on the field and the woman they make us into, but that grind of daily caring about people, they care about us so much more as people than as softball players. And I think that's really what it comes down to. They care about you and they want you to be the best you can be. And I think that's the foundation of it. And then when it comes to like a coaching standpoint and a player standpoint, I would say the biggest thing I'm learning kind of being at the professional level now is just their ability to coach to the player. It's a changing game and you're adding technology, you're taking away, the pitching is doing this, the hitting is doing that. And their ability to adapt and kind of buy into whatever is working at that time. And then their ability to not teach one way. I'm a different player than Kaylee Harding was, than anyone was. And so T. Will and Rafter, they're not going to teach us to hit the same because it's not going to work. So their ability to kind of work with you as a player differently from person to person, I think speaks volumes. And then just how much they still care about you. I mean, coaches sent me a care package. She's been texting, always text with the guys. Rafter's out doing her thing at the Canada Cup. They just won bronze and you just care so much about them and they create a culture like no other because of how much they love you and how much in return you end up loving them and the program that they've built.
Talk about loving you. I know you said earlier the fans weren't very forgiving when you made those first, but the fans of Florida State my word, the atmosphere, I've seen many players on the opposing teams get razzled by Florida State fans. What makes playing in that atmosphere so special?
Yeah. I think I've been super lucky. I've kind of seen it. I think after they won in 2018, they were up and coming for a little while. Then they won in 2018 and, they kind of knew what worked, and Tallahassee just bought into it. And Coacha works so hard to get the community to surround us and love us. And we try to work really hard too, to show them that we love them and we're there to support them in different ways. And then Mr. Alford on top of it has done such an amazing job of putting the resources into women's sports, in a sense, kind of like putting his money where his mouth is. Like, he knows how much the community loves us and how much they love soccer and the Plex. And so just building that up so we can attend to those fans and how much they love us. And I've been a part of so many amazing games at the Plex. I mean, winning an ACC championship there, winning super regionals, like just so special. And I think you don't have those atmosphere without those fans. So I think it's only going to grow. I think they're going to have to build a bigger parking garage. They're going to have to build more seats. They're going to have to do something, because Tallahassee loves Florida State softball. And it's just super special to be on the receiving end of that.
Do you have any crazy or fun fan interactions that you've been able to have throughout your Florida State career that stick out in your mind and like, wow, that was an awesome, interaction that I had with a fan?
Nothing I would say like super specific, but just in general, like seeing little girls wear your jersey with the name on your back or the name on the front and wanting you to, sign their ball or say they're your favorite player, or they look up to you. As you get older and you play a lot, you're obviously, on a team like that has a lot of support, like kind of well known. So just understanding like how you carry yourself and what you say to these little girls is going to matter so much. So I think whenever we would, talk to little girls after the game, or even little boys or whoever, families, and then in return, they would email Coacha and be like, thank you so much. Like, this player or that player talked to my son or daughter and it made their year. Like, just hearing things like that is pretty surreal, especially for us, because we know, it might not carry on forever. It's not, like baseball or anything like that. And hopefully it can be one day, but just those opportunities to impact them in the littlest of ways.
When players are chasing their dreams and they're watching players like you and teams like Florida State, all they see is ESPN and you guys playing the World Series, all the fun stuff that comes along with it. What are some things that you tell them if they ask you about like the behind the scenes stuff that people don't see? Like, you need to know this before you step on a college campus.
That's a good question. I think at Florida State, a lot goes into it. Like, we pride ourselves in being strong and fast and buying into that and taking care of our bodies. But we also pride ourselves in just being a really smart team and understanding the game in ways that, not everyone probably buys into. And we really look at it and we really dive into it, because then when it comes down to it, like, people just don't always understand how we beat them, because we just can beat them in so many ways. And we know how, and we take pride in it, but just the everydays, like the little things, it takes so much more to get to those moments. And probably the fact that you're going to fail in so many of those moments before you can be successful. And that's what, makes it so special.
When you think of now playing professionally and how this opportunity came up, we can't let you go without talking about it and what kind of, opportunity and special blessing this summer has been for you to play with the Monarchs. Talk about kind of how this opportunity came about and what made you want to continue your softball career.
Yeah. Well, our GM is Alex Powers, one of my favorite Seminoles, and she played a little bit before me. I think she graduated in 2017 and I started in 2019. So I knew of her. AP has been doing, ACC Network and all the things. And we, pride ourselves in keeping in contact with the alumni, because, they left it better than they found it for us. And we want to leave it better and stay in contact with the young ones, all the things. So just someone that I always got along with, someone that I always respected her game, respected her process, loved the way, she took on life after college too. So she just gave me a call and was like, I'm building a team and I'm interested in seeing if you want to play. And it did, it took me a little while. I wasn't sure, didn't know other opportunities. But at the end of the day, I think to be able to say you played professionally, to say that you got the opportunity, to say I got to play for a team that is ran by Alex with the girls that are on this team, just super special and something I think I would regret if I didn't do, and now doing it, just so happy. And I think it's just a different level and it's learning new things, and it's super awesome to do it with different girls from different teams. And you're still growing as a player, but you also have so much more in the bank to build off of. So it's just a different opportunity, but so special, and just, want to see softball grow and help it in any way I can. So just an awesome, awesome time.
You're a part of a group of women in this league that are pioneers for professional softball, building it for future players to have a dream to play it. What are some things that you kind of goals for professional softball that you hope that you can create and you can build foundations for, so that girls ahead of you can still have that dream? What are some things that you see like, man, I hope that I can help build professional softball to this point?
I think that just the ability to be treated to your male counterparts. I hope that professional softball can get there one day. And I think hopefully it's coming. I think the ability to grow it at each level and then get there is big. And then the revenue side of it, once you get here, is big. But I think you have to be willing to play. You have to be willing to stick it out. You have to be willing to grind out the summer of a lot of games and then grind out the off season. I think the off season is the hardest part. So maybe not having as much of an off season, a little bit longer of a season, a little more pay, just all of the things. But I think just when girls coming out of college, my age, coming from schools like me, being known like me, your ability to give back and continue the game, because you have to keep playing and you have to keep it playing at a really high level if we want to achieve that. So I'm kind of just, in awe of some of the girls I get to play against, some of the girls I get to play with. So it's super special, and kind of just learning from them and then moving up from there and knowing what I can do.
You talked about earlier how you knew softball wasn't going to be forever, even though you are playing professionally. Eventually your career, is going to end. We hope it's not for a while. We hope to keep playing, of course. But when you struggle with that, you have to also deal with identity outside of softball. I want to talk about that real quick, and how you built the identity outside of softball and saw yourself as more than just a softball player, and some advice that you give to girls that are, getting to that level that have to kind of deal with that as well.
Yeah. Once again, I think goes back to like my coaching staff was lucky enough that, they don't make you just a softball player. They make you a better person, and they make you confident, and they make you a young woman that's ready to attack whatever it is next. So I was lucky to come out of that. I don't know because I'm still playing, but I do feel comfortable, whenever it is time to take that next step, that I know who I am and to go from there and be able to grow. But I would just say to not make softball your identity and find happiness outside of it. I always tell people Florida State was the best 5 years of my life. Take away softball. So super lucky to have that. And then you add all of the amazing experiences I had with softball. But I think it kind of starts there because, if you're unhappy and you're not enjoying your college life, whatever it is, it might be football games, volleyball games, more of the college atmosphere, like the liberal arts, all of those things, whatever it is that you might enjoy. If you're not doing that outside of softball, then it's going to make it really hard, because everyone knows how hard softball is at times. So finding the happiness outside of that and finding your people that make you happy would be my biggest advice, because when you have a strong support system, going through this game gets a lot easier, because it, once again, so difficult. And then finding things outside of softball that you enjoy. Kind of similar. I enjoy baseball and I want to work in baseball. So I've just tried to really, push for that and move into that and grow that way. But just kind of getting excited for what's next and not being sad for what you're leaving behind.
All right, with all these player interviews, we end it by giving the player the chance to take the limelight off themselves a little bit and shine it on the people that got them to where they are, their support system, the people in their corner. I know you have to have a big village, a lot of people that have gotten to you where you are. As much time as you want. We're not the Oscars. We're not going to cut you off. So as many thanks and shout outs that you want to give, I want to give you the time to be able to do that.
Nice. Obviously my family, my parents did everything for my brother, sister, and I to be able be comfortable and grow up with everything we needed, and then just fully support us. Like, I don't think, my dad missed 1 or 2 away series because it was COVID and he wasn't allowed to go. And then my mom was traveling with my sister for beach volleyball, but then when she got in college and was able to play, they were able to kind of switch off sometimes, and my mom go to McKenna's beach volleyball and my dad come to me, and just all the things. So I think my family support, their ability to be there in the big moments too. I think when we were in Oklahoma City a few times, we obviously made a few national championship runs, and those are long trips. And I think most of my family stayed the whole time. So just super thankful for that. And then my extended family and everyone that could come. And then obviously my coaches and just the Florida State program. I think everyone, even in the athletics department, Mr. Alford, Laura, everything, they have given me so much. And then I would just say my friends. I mean, I made friends for a lifetime, and I met, my best friends, and they're going to be in my life forever. And I couldn't be more thankful. So,
Devin, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us and talk to us about your story and share your journey with all the softball players that'll be watching this and trying to achieve what you've already gotten done and to reach their dreams. We know they're going to hear this and they're going to be inspired. So want to thank you for continuing to build this game that I know we both love so much. And we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
That was Devin Flaherty from Florida State, and now the Texas Monarchs professional softball team. We thank her for her time. What a great interview that was. And when I say player that's played on the biggest stages, that's literally Devin Flaherty. So make sure to take notes if you're out there watching. If you missed it and want to see it in its entirety, like all of our Living the Dream segments, it will be up on Ysn very shortly, where you can see it in its entirety along with a write-up about Devin's career as well. So make sure to stay tuned to that. Austintown playing right now against Indiana in the regional semifinals. Make sure to check that out. They're looking to punch their ticket to the championship. Check out NABF baseball all weekend. We'll have some fun. We will see you on Monday. We'll be back here on Monday from 1 to 2 on Running Point. And we'll have a lot to talk about. Hopefully we'll have a World Series berth from Austintown to talk about. All that and a lot more coming up this weekend. Running Point always brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Thank you so much.